Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and get started. My name is Esteban. I work in Centrico Digital. We are a digital marketing agency, and we're based in Quito, Ecuador. So as you know, today we're going to be talking about migrating to Pardot. Pardot is the marketing automation platform that Salesforce has. But before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about us. So Centrico Digital, based in Ecuador, but despite the fact that we are located in South America, most of our clients are in the US and Canada. But we also have clients in Central America and Latin America as well. So in Centrico, we specialize in two things, which are performance marketing, which is basically finding clients for our clients, and then marketing automation, which is automating internal and external processes. And then that's what Pardot is about. Pardot is all about implementing marketing automation processes for your company. So first of all, I want to thank everyone who has been able to join the webinar. And then I also want to ask you that if at any point you have any questions regarding the presentation, please feel free to send your questions via the chat or the Q&A section that you have on Zoom. And then at the end of the webinar, we will be answering all your questions. So then in Centrico Digital, we are also Salesforce partners, and we are Pardot certified. So that's why we are actually giving this webinar today. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I was saying earlier, Pardot is Salesforce marketing automation platform, and Pardot will help you automate internal and external processes. So some examples of internal processes that you can automate with this platform are things like assigning prospects. So for example, when you're running a campaign on Google Ads, Facebook ads, or when you're sending an email, and then you're getting new prospects that are filling out your forms either on the website or on a landing page, you can automate the process of assigning each of those prospects or leads to the sales reps in your company. And there are a bunch of ways and you can do this. You can do a round robin assignment so that every single person on your sales team gets an equal amount of leads. Or you can also assign more leads to those sales reps that are having better metrics or better sales. So that's one of the simplest processes that you can automate with Pardot. Then another thing that I also like is that you can also grade and qualify your prospects. And these are really helpful tools just because when you're getting a lot of prospects, it can be sometimes difficult to manage them and to understand which ones have a higher priority or which ones are closer to becoming your clients. So grading and qualifying prospects also allow you to understand and define that priority for your sales team so that they don't necessarily waste their time reaching out to prospects that are not qualified or that are not a good fit for your company. Then with Pardot, you can also manage and centralize all your marketing efforts in one single platform. And I think this is one of the greatest benefits that Pardot has. So with some of my clients, I've seen that they are using one platform for email marketing, another platform for landing pages, another platform to manage their social networks and automate their organic posts and so on. And one of the main issues that I've seen with these clients is that before they actually moved to Pardot, they actually had to create all these reports individually by gathering all the data manually. And the biggest issue is that it can be really hard to sort of like integrate these different platforms to have standardized data. So I do think that the fact that you can manage all these different things on Pardot is definitely a plus for the platform. So on Pardot, for example, you have a module to create emails and send email marketing campaigns. And it's really easy to use. You can either use the drag and drop feature to create emails. So even if you don't have knowledge of HTML or CSS, you can always just choose the drag and drop option and create really good looking emails. But then if you do have a designer on your team, you can also implement emails through HTML and CSS. And that can be really helpful if having a really good design is a priority for your company. Then you can also create landing pages on Pardot. So similar to email marketing, you're also able to create landing pages inside the platform. And one of the benefits is that on Pardot, you can also use the drag and drop feature to create landing pages, or you can also implement landing pages via HTML and CSS. Then you also have the possibility to use Pardot forms on your landing pages on your web or on your website. And this will actually allow you to see whether or not you're able to capture information directly to Pardot. Then Pardot also offers a functionality for keywords. So when it comes to SEO, you can also track what is the performance that your keywords are having, and then based on that performance, you can see what is the ranking for your specific keywords, or in which keywords you need to actually improve your organic positioning. Then on Pardot, you also have a module to track your competitors in terms of SEO and see how your competitors are ranking with specific keywords. And then once you have that analysis from your competitors, you can also get a better idea on what are the things where you need to improve. And then another module that Pardot also has is a module to manage social networks. So basically, when you're doing organic posts on Pardot, you can always automate everything. You can always automate everything inside the platform, and you can also automate your organic social network posts on Pardot. And the main benefit of integrating your Pardot your social networks to Pardot is that then you will also be able to have a lot of good information and tracking of in terms of what is the effectiveness of your organic efforts in terms of results such as opportunities or even revenue. So then some other benefits that Pardot has, and one of the things that I really like about Pardot is that it allows you to personalize content and communication to your prospects. And here, in order to be able to do this, you have a bunch of different modules inside Pardot. So the first one is the Engagement Studio. And the Engagement Studio allows you to do drip campaigns or automated email programs. And in the Engagement Studio, you can create very simple automated emails, such as when people fill out your contact us form, then they will automatically get a follow-up email just saying something like, "Thank you for giving us your information. We'll be in contact with you soon." So that's one of the simplest versions of email marketing automation that you can do. But then with the Engagement Studio, you can create a lot more complex email programs. So basically, the way the Engagement Studio works is that you have sort of like a decision tree, and you can define what are the actions that will happen in each of the branches. So for example, if you send an email, then you can divide a branch to see which people opened the email and which people didn't. So to those people who did open the email, then you can follow up with a different type of email. For those people who didn't open the email, you can send them any other type of content. And then that's also a simple example of a drip campaign that you can create. But then on Pardot, you can also do stuff like automate the follow-up process for all of your clients. So I have one client actually whose sales cycle lasts between 6 months to 1 year. And basically, people are taking an average of 9 months to actually make a decision to actually hire them or not. So we actually created a drip campaign in the engagement studio that we'll be sending emails for people throughout 9 months, and we will be sending one email every 10 days just to provide useful information to our prospects, just to tell them more about our products and so on. But the main objective of doing this is that we want to stay on people's minds, just so that when it comes a time for them to make a decision, they will be thinking about us first. Then you can also do audience segmentation on Pardot. And basically, audience segmentation allows you to create segments of your database. So basically, you will be having all of your database inside Pardot, but you can start creating these clusters or segments based on specific types of information. So for example, I have some clients that have created audiences based on people that have received a quote, but haven't made a purchase yet or haven't become our clients. Then we also have another segmentation for people that have either attended webinars or downloaded ebooks or white papers that we have. And then depending on the audience that we've been able to segment, we'll be sending them a specific content to their purchasing stage in which they are. And then another feature that I also like a lot is dynamic content. So dynamic content on Pardot allows you to, as the name says it, have content that is specific to each prospect. So the simplest example of dynamic content is that if you send an email, then those people who are in the United States will see the email in English. And then those people who are in Ecuador, for example, they will see the email in Spanish. So that's one simple example of dynamic content. But you can also have dynamic content that is specific to each of the life cycle stages of your prospects. So you can make sure that if one of your prospects visit the website, which means that they already are on your database, then instead of seeing a form, they will end up seeing a video. And then if a brand new user visits the website, they instead of seeing the video, they will see the form. So dynamic content is a really good tool to make sure that users are seeing only the right information for them. And then again, the main benefit of actually having Pardot and being able to centralize all these different tools into one single platform is that later you will be able to have better dashboards, better reports, and basically measuring the impact of your marketing efforts will be a lot easier. So just as an example here, I had one client that before they implemented Pardot, they were spending an average of 4 hours per week coming up with reports that they would have to present to their management team. After they implemented Pardot, now they are actually spending those 4 hours interpreting the data. And once they are able to analyze the data, they can make better financial decisions or product decisions, or just understand what are the marketing efforts that are working better or driving more results for their company. So then, as I was saying earlier, one of the main benefits that Pardot has is that you will be able to simplify all the administration and reporting of your marketing campaigns, just because you will be able to see one consolidated report of all your marketing efforts. Then another benefit is that because all these different tools such as email marketing or landing pages are inside one single platform, then you will also be able to track what are all your prospects doing. So Pardot actually offers an option that will show you the detailed tracking of all your prospects and the interaction and all the interactions that they had with the company's assets. And by company's assets, I'm talking about visits to your website, visits to your landing page, form submissions, email opens, email clicks. You can also see whether or not they saw a PDF document and so on. So you can have a very specific tracking for all your prospects. And then just by clicking in each of the prospects, you'll be able to see what was their timeline in terms of interactions with your company's assets. So this will give you a better idea to see whether or not a prospect is actually interested in your services or not. Because, for example, if you see that a prospect is constantly visiting your website, they are filling out forms to download multiple white papers, or they are always just interacting with your emails, then that could be that could give you an idea that they are really interested in what you're offering them. Then, as I said earlier, you can also create personalized messages on Pardot, either through dynamic content or also by having these very specific audience segmentations. So that also will allow you to reach the right prospect with the right content at the right time. Then another feature that I also like about Pardot is that it integrates with CRMs very well. And this is really important for me just because most of the times one of the biggest issues that companies are having is that it's really hard to measure what is the impact that marketing is having over sales. So how are my campaigns translating into revenue, for example? But Pardot actually has a direct integration with multiple CRMs, especially with the Salesforce CRM. And just to talk a little bit about Salesforce, the Salesforce Sales Cloud or the Salesforce CRM is the best platform, is the best CRM in the world. It's also the most popular CRM in the world. And the reason for that is because the Salesforce CRM allows you to do all these different customizations that will make sure that the platform adapts to the needs that each company has. And then one of the biggest benefits is that because both the Salesforce CRM and Salesforce Pardot are part of the same company, then the integration between both platforms is seamless. So it's very easy to integrate Pardot with Salesforce. And then the benefit of integrating both platforms is that you will be able to measure exactly how your marketing efforts are translating into opportunities and also into clients, and also what is the dollar amount in terms of revenue that you are getting from your marketing efforts. And also in my experience, I've also worked with HubSpot, which is Pardot's biggest competitor. And I have some clients that in the past, they would integrate HubSpot with Salesforce. But the biggest issue that we've had is that because HubSpot and Salesforce are competitors too, the integration can take a little bit longer and then the integration doesn't work very well. So if you have Salesforce, then my recommendation would be that if you want to implement a marketing platform, a marketing automation platform, you should probably consider Pardot. And then another benefit is that you can actually create emails and landing pages without code. This actually saves you a lot of time when it comes to creating email communications or landing pages that look good. So this is definitely a plus for Pardot as well. Then in terms of benefits, in terms of campaigns, you can always create email marketing campaigns based on interactions or activities completed by prospects. So as I was saying earlier, if someone fills out a form, then they will get a thank you email automatically. Then you can also do stuff that, for example, if you have a form so that people can download a white paper, then as soon as they fill out the form, they will get an email, and the email will contain the white paper. And you can automate stuff like that. Then Pardot also has, as I mentioned earlier, Pardot also has the ability of implementing forms on your website or your landing pages. And there are two types of forms on Pardot. You have the regular forms where you can embed a Pardot form on your website. And what will happen in this case is that every time someone fills out that form, then that information will be automatically sent into Pardot. But then there are some cases when you don't necessarily want to embed a Pardot form on the website because you already have a form on your website. And I've seen that some clients don't necessarily want to change their website forms just because they have different types of integrations with those forms. So in those cases, Pardot also has a feature called Pardot Form Handlers, which will allow you to automatically grab all the information from these regular HTML forms that you have on the website. And then as soon as someone fills out the form, that information will also be saved on Pardot. Then another thing that I like about Pardot is that because you can integrate your social media accounts with Pardot, then you can also track all the interactions and the effectiveness that your organic posts are having over revenue. So this is also really interesting just because you will be able to see which types of content are performing better, are driving more engagement, or which type of organic content is generating more opportunities overall. And then, as I was saying at the beginning again, one of the things that I also like about Pardot is that you have grading models and scoring models that will allow you to qualify and define which prospects are more likely to purchase or to become your clients. So basically, the way the grading model works is that you'll be assigning a grade to each of the prospects based on demographic characteristics. So you can define this model to take into account things like the job title, the location where they are, the age that they have, the years that they've been working at the company, and stuff like that. And then you can use the scoring model to take into account more quantitative measurements. So the scoring model is actually a numeric value that you will assign to each prospect based on the different types of activities that the prospect is doing. So for example, if a prospect is constantly opening your emails, then that means that they do have a higher level of interest. And because they are having a higher level of interest, then they will be able to have a higher score. Then if your prospects, for example, are visiting your careers page or your jobs page, then that probably means that they are looking for a job, not necessarily looking to buy your services or products. So in that case, you can also decrease the score for those prospects. So basically, just by having an accurate scoring model and grading model, then you will be able to have a better understanding of which prospects are more qualified or more likely to become your clients. And in that way, you can ask your sales team to prioritize those prospects that just have higher grades and scores. And then another benefit will be that you will be able to measure the ROI of your marketing activities. So that's definitely helpful just because you won't have to waste time coming up with reports in Excel, trying to link multiple platforms into one database and so on, just because you will have everything inside the same platform. So then one of the questions that we are always asked by our clients or prospects that are thinking about implementing Pardot is whether or not Pardot is the right tool for them. So here I have a bunch of questions that I normally ask my clients to see if Pardot is a good fit for their company. So the first question is whether or not they use Salesforce. So if you already use Salesforce, you already have a lot of data on your CRM, and you definitely need to be leveraging that data in order to create more or better automated email campaigns, just so that you can also stay in touch with your prospects. So if you already have Salesforce, then my recommendation is you should always have a marketing automation platform like Pardot. And again, the benefit of having Pardot is that the integration between Salesforce CRM and Pardot is seamless, and then you will be able to leverage all this marketing information for sales as well. Then the other question that I always ask is whether or not you want to measure the impact of your marketing efforts in terms of sales. So if you are sometimes, and these are really interesting questions, because sometimes there is the sales and marketing teams are not necessarily aligned, and one of the things that happens constantly is that the people on the sales team will always complain about the quality of leads that you're sending, and the marketing team will always complain that sales is not closing the prospects. So if you actually want to be able to measure how your marketing efforts are translating into sales, and if you actually want to have a better integration between both teams, then you definitely need a marketing automation platform. Just because, as I've been explaining before, a platform like Pardot will allow you to track what are the interactions that people are having with your marketing assets, and how those interactions also help throughout the sales process. Then another question that I ask is whether or not your company sales cycle takes more than 30 days, probably 30 to 45 days. So basically, if you have a long sales cycle, one of the things that you need to take into account is that your prospects are probably also requesting information from competitors. So one of the things that you need to do is basically stand out throughout those days, just to make sure that when the decision time comes, then people will think about you first. So one of the things that we do with our clients is we normally create an automated email marketing program that will follow up with the prospect throughout these 45 days or 60 days or 1 year, just to make sure that we are providing useful, that we are also providing a good customer experience, so that when people are trying to decide to work, will first think about you. Then another alternative would be if you want to find upsell opportunities with your current clients, then you would also need a platform like Pardot, just because just by implementing these automated email programs, you could also be following up with your clients, and then you could also be showing them or providing them information related to what are the new products that you're offering and how they could benefit from your new products. So basically, all these different marketing automation programs allow you to stay in touch with your prospects and clients, just so that you can create better relationships overall with them. And we know that just by having better relationships with your prospects and clients, you can also translate that into more revenue. And then the last question here is, do you want to communicate with your prospects at the right time and with the right content? So if you want to accomplish this, then you definitely need a platform like Pardot or any marketing automation tool. So here we can see this example for the webinar. This is what we are actually doing right now. So when we decided that we wanted to do this webinar, we actually used Pardot as the marketing automation platform to automate the whole process. So this is the example that we actually followed for today's webinar. So here you can see that on the first step, or the first step for this webinar was to actually create the webinar assets. So what we did was we initially created the landing page on Pardot. We created the email marketing campaigns and all the emails inside Pardot. And then after doing that, we then implemented paid campaigns on both Facebook ads and Google ads, just because we have seen that those are the platforms that work well for us when it comes to generating leads for our webinars. Then we also send an email to our database. So some of you might have heard about this webinar either through a paid campaign or through an email that you received. And then if you, for example, clicked on one of our ads on paid campaigns, or if you clicked on the CTA that we sent on the emails, that you would all be redirected or taken to the landing page that we created. And then that landing page actually contained a form that was also on Pardot. And the benefit of having everything on Pardot is that we could track what was happening with everything and that you were doing. So basically what happened is that after you actually filled out the form, then you would get automated email reminders. First of all, thanking you for registering for the webinar. And then you would get automated emails with reminders before the webinar or with the webinar link as well. And then we got here to the day of the webinar. And to be honest, after the webinar, we will still be contacting you via email, and this will be automated email campaigns. But the main objective of actually following up is that we want to be able to send you the presentation that you're looking at right now. Then we also want to send you some tips in terms of what are the things that you need to know in terms of whether or not you want to migrate to Pardot or not, and so on. But all these email marketing campaigns are automated, and the main benefit of actually doing this is that we only need to sit down and wait until one of you is actually interested in requesting more information about a Pardot implementation. So what we will actually be doing is analyzing all the data and reports. And then based on those reports, we will be able to find and basically understand which ones are qualified prospects. So we also have grading models and scoring models in place. So those people who interact more with our emails will probably be the ones that are showing more interest in the services that we're offering. And then if one of those prospects or one of you wants to request more information from us, then we can always schedule a phone call. If that phone call goes well, then we can create opportunities, and then we can even close clients. But here you can see that this webinar is actually a good example where we leveraged all the benefits that we have on Pardot just to make sure that we automated the whole processes from the registration to actually all the follow-up. Then another question that we always get from our clients is, okay, I like how Pardot sounds, but what do I need to do, or what do I need to take into account if I want to migrate to this platform? So here you can see an example of a timeline that we use. And we normally say that migrating or implementing Pardot can take between 30 to 60 days, depending on the complexity of the implementation that you require. And this example basically contains all the different tasks, or the most common tasks that we need to complete, just to make sure that we are doing the right implementation. So there are a bunch of recommendations that I would give you here. The first one would be to probably make sure that you're implementing Pardot with a Salesforce partner. And the reason for this is because implementing Pardot can be very tricky. There are a lot of technical things that you need to keep in mind. And in order to get the most out of the platform, you do need to do a good implementation. So yeah, my recommendation here would be for you to probably, you can also ask Salesforce for them to recommend you what are some companies that can help you with the implementation, or you can also request more information from us, just because we've been doing this for a while. So that's pretty much all that I had for today. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know. We will go through the question and answer section right now. But then if at some point you want to learn more about the implementation process, or if you want to get more information from us, feel free to send us an email. As I said earlier, you're going to be hearing from us after the email. So yeah, you can just contact us, and then we'll be more than happy to help you with this. So let's go ahead and let's try to answer some of the questions that we have. So if you want, you can keep writing some of the questions inside the question and answer section that we have on Pardot. And I can already see that we have some of those. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first question that I have here is, how do you create an accurate lead scoring or grading model? And this is actually a really good question that comes up a lot of times with our clients. So when it comes to creating a good grading model or lead scoring model, my recommendation is that you should always analyze all your historical data first, just because by looking at your historical data, you will be able to get some good information about what are the things that are working and what are the things that are not working. So with some of our clients, what we always do is we download the whole database they have. And on that database, they will be able to have information like the dollar amount for each opportunity that each prospect represented, the job titles, the locations, and so on. So we basically analyze that data and try to see which data is statistically significant enough for us to be able to use that data for our scoring model. So for example, The buyer persona that we have for our clients are people who are C-level, so CTOs, CFOs, or CEOs. Then what we do is we state in our grading model that if someone has any of those job titles, then we will automatically assign them a grade of A. Then we could also take into account things like industry, company size, and so on. And then regarding the scoring model, what we do is try to analyze all the previous interactions that a user has. So you can either do this by using platforms like Google Analytics. So for example, you can evaluate what is the average session duration that a user has or that a client has. So for example, if people need to spend at least 5 minutes on the website in order for them to be able to fill out a form, then that's something that we can also take into account, so that when a prospect spends more than 5 minutes navigating on your page, then we can assign them a higher score, just because spending 5 minutes on the website shows a higher level of interest as well. Then another question that we have is, how long does the implementation take? So as I was saying earlier, a good implementation will probably take between 30 days to 60 days. We've had some other clients that have where the implementation has taken us probably 4 to 6 months. And the reason for that is that these are clients that have a lot, very complex structures. So one example of a client, they actually have operations around the world, and they actually have marketing teams in Europe, in the US and Canada, and in South America. So we actually, in order to be able to get the most out of the platform, and in order to make sure that each of those teams is able to use the platform, we actually need to take a little bit longer to basically analyze what are the needs that each of those teams has. Then in terms of tips, we have another question that says, what are some of the tips that you have when it comes to migrating to Pardot? So I would say that probably the most important tip that I can give you is make sure that you have the right database. So basically, even if you have the best CRM or the most expensive CRM or the most expensive marketing automation platform, all these platforms are basically leveraging the database that you have. So if the data that you have is not right, is not well structured, then you're basically wasting all your money, because you won't be able to get the most out of Pardot in this case. So my first tip would be to make sure that you have a clean database where you can easily identify which are your prospects, what are the different fields of information that you have for each of those prospects, and so on. Then another thing that I recommend is that before implementing Pardot, you definitely need to have a good understanding of what are the internal processes that you have. And then one of the things that we normally do with our clients is try to standardize those internal processes. Just because when it comes to implementing a platform like Pardot, that also, it doesn't only involve implementing a new platform, but it also involves implementing new processes on your company. So on Pardot, for example, you can define which people will be allowed to send emails, which people will be allowed to see which contacts. So you can define different levels of permissions for that, for each user. And then another thing that is really important is that you standardize the sales process. So another thing that we normally do with our clients is, first of all, standardize the sales process, just so that everyone on the sales team knows exactly what are the actions that they need to complete. So for example, one of the things that we've done is that for a client is that as soon as a prospect comes in, then each of the sales reps has 24 hours to contact them. And on that first touch point that they have with the prospect, they actually need to get a certain number of fields of information that will be automatically saved on Pardot or on the CRM. And then we will be later leveraging those fields for having better and more specific email marketing campaigns. So after we standardize the sales process, then it makes it a lot easier for the marketing team to understand where we can actually help throughout the sales process, or what are the different marketing automation programs that we need to create, and so on. Then here we have another question that says, what is the cost of implementing Pardot? So on average, acquiring the platform will cost you between $1,300 and $4,000. So Pardot has 3 standard versions of the platform, And depending on each and on your company's needs, you will choose one of those versions. Then if you work at a larger business that has larger requirements, then you can always quote a different version for Salesforce. So you can end up paying up to probably $15,000 for Pardot. Uh, in my experience, most of the companies that we work with only purchase one of the standard versions, which go from $1,250 to $4,000 per month. And then in terms of the implementation, the cost for the implementation is between $2,000 and $4,000. And that is only a one-time fee. Again, the price will vary depending on the complexity of the implementation that you require. So for example, if you need us to implement more landing pages or more automated email programs on Engagement Studio, then we can definitely quote you on that. But it will vary depending on the needs that each of the companies have. So yeah, I mean, those are all the questions that I'm seeing for now. If you have any other questions at some point, please let us know. Feel free to send us an email if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or if you would just like to get more information about the services that we offer related to Pardot, or if you have any questions related to the platform. But thanks everyone for your time. Thanks for joining the webinar. As I said, you will be hearing from us soon, so feel free to let us know if you have any comments. Thank you and have a good day.